At last count, in terms of euro and dollar denominated sovereign debt issued by Russia, $40 billion. Half of that, about $20 billion, is held by foreigners. So in the whole scheme of things, relatively, this is actually a drop in the bucket. So even if Russia were to default, the systemic risk would not be high. Would that be fair to say?
I think you're right that it may be just a figurative drop in the bucket. But I think the way we see debt, especially sovereign debt, is that they rank pari passu with each other. So that European, those Euro bonds, those international sovereign debt, we think should rank as senior. It's in the bond documentation, equally with domestic currency debt. So we're looking at not just $40 billion, but the very large entire stock of debt, which is north of 30% of GDP. Of course, that GDP number is changing given the impact of the conflict on the Russian economy.
So let me back it up even further and ask you: is some Russian paper already in default? And I'm thinking here of the onshore ruble-denominated paper of Russia is going, look, hey, we'll pay, but sorry, you got to take your money, take the money in rubles, which is obviously getting worth less and less every day.
Sure. Well, maybe I could take this opportunity to expand a little bit about what Moody's has done. Over the weekend, we downgraded further. Now, this is probably the third or fourth rating action taken since the conflict began. And in fact, what we've done with the Russian rating is unprecedented almost. It's gone from Baa3, an investment grade rating, all the way down to CA. So 10 notches in 10 days. This is not a joke. This is pretty serious. But CA, the second lowest level, second lowest rating that we have on our scale, represents a pretty imminent risk of default. But what we're actually looking at here is recovery rates. So we're looking at 35 to 65%. Getting 35 to 65 cents on the dollar. If there is room for more, if there's total loss, we downgrade further, for example. But we're not calling a default yet. We don't have a default rating. The reason for that is that even though, as I had mentioned, we regard every debt security as ranking pari passu with all other debt securities that are issued by the same Russian sovereign. The bond documentation is key to understanding the default risk. We do understand that some Euro bonds do have the option to be paid in local currency. So in those cases where the bondholders do get paid in ruble, there may not be a default. But we also understand there are certain also other types of sort of conditions and scenarios. For example, we do know that the Russian Ministry of Finance has paid out coupon payments over the past week to certain bondholders of local currency securities. However, those coupon payments have been held at the depository, so they've contractually made good on their obligation to pay. However, the ability for non-resident investors to get a hold of those coupon payments is constrained. So we're really looking at the situation to determine whether or not this is a default.